The Navigating Disability podcast often discusses topics including disability, injury, mental health, and mentions of sensitive issues such as trauma and suicide. Listener discretion is advised. Please take care while listening.
Fairyland is a magical land where so many incredible ideas have been born. As someone in a creative field, in a presenting field, in having a creative agency myself, in podcasting, and you name it, in television and radio, you need good ideas. That's where good ideas live. And for me to just have an open door policy to Fairyland, it has lent itself to its advantage in my career.
Welcome to Navigating Disability, the podcast where we explore the diverse experiences, challenges, and triumphs of living with a disability. In today's episode, we're joined by the incredible Seamus Evans, comedian, motivational speaker, and advocate for neurodiversity. Seamus has built a successful career in the media industry while navigating life with Tourette syndrome and ADHD. From overcoming obstacles to embracing his differences, Seamus shares his journey with humour, resilience, and an unwavering passion for inspiring others. Get ready for an insightful and uplifting conversation as we dive into the realities of neurodiversity, self-acceptance, and breaking down barriers. Let's get started. Welcome, Seamus.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me, Kate and Jen. Really appreciate it. And I hope it is an inspiring chat. Geez, you've really set the bar.
No, I've got no doubt because I've listened to you speak before and you were inspiring, so much so that I told my children about you. But I want to go back to a quick question or a quick discussion that we had just before about you saying to me, I'm not disabled.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love you to unpack that for me, Seamus.
Yeah. I do get put in the category of disabled. And I think disabled is a very, very wide, very large category that doesn't particularly have any rules that puts you in or out. But I do kind of, this moment you hear disabled, you think wheelchair, you think extreme. And I'm sure there is probably a gray area. But it's been really interesting because I've been asked to speak at disability events. And I think, I just want to let you know, I'm not disabled. So I don't want to be that guy on stage saying that I am. And then it's like a weird sort of like, is it? Prove it. However, my Tourette's, people with Tourette's are disabled because of their Tourette's. Their Tourette's is absolutely disabling. So I have a diagnosis that is the same diagnosis as people who are disabled from it. ADHD can be disabling. It absolutely can. People can be disabled from an extreme condition of ADHD and Tourette's. Me personally, I'm not disabled by it. And I really think it's in the word disabled. And I don't feel as I've experienced anything where I haven't been able to do anything because of my specific brain.
Yep.
So,
yeah. And you'll notice on our background, we actually started this with navigating disability.
Yes.
And we changed it after speaking to not so many people, but a few people. And they all said the same thing, which was it's the environment around me that disables me rather than me myself, because I do have a lot of ability. And I've heard you speak, I've heard you interact, and it really does also come down to a perception and what you believe disability is and what you believe whether or not you have been affected by a disability. Can you tell me a little bit about growing up?
Yeah, growing up. Well, I feel like I'm on a psychologist's couch. Well, it all starts with mum and dad and their relationship. No. Look, I was a really hyperactive child. I was not a naughty child. I mean, I did get up to mischief, but I was always an entertainer, always making my siblings laugh. I was the youngest of 4 siblings. And, like every family, no family is perfect. So when there was friction amongst the family and tension, I naturally was that tension breaker. So as I was observing the friction amongst my teenage siblings as they were entering into, hormonal changes, and the friction of my mother and father, I would sense the disharmony, and I would have to instigate, let's break this tension. And I feel as though it's a very common role for the younger sibling to fall into, as a bit of the comedian, a bit of the performer, a bit of, hey, let's stop arguing about our life's problems. Here's a joke. And so that was essentially my role for a very long time. Having the Tourette's diagnosis at the age of 10 was, look, there's no sugarcoating. It is hard living with Tourette's. It is a difficult thing. One, when you're branded with a diagnosis, a word, a term that labels you, then you feel as though you must fit into that. Then you kind of go through the journey of having to break away from that and finding your identity. Also, you really have to come to terms with the fact that you are different to everyone else. And I know everybody is different and everyone is an individual, but by that, I mean you stand out from the crowd with noises, with actions, with physical things that captivate people's attention. And so when people are watching movies, you tick, you make noises, people turn around and go, what are you doing? Can you stop it? Then you are met with constant situations where you have to either explain your situation or get in a fight or reject it, deflect it, and move on.
Yeah.
You're constantly met with those opportunities through puberty. And so I can give you an array of situations, but you can kind of connect the dots by yourself, you know?
So did you navigate that through humor? Or how did you navigate situations like that? Because, some people can be cruel and, and confrontational. How did you, deal with those situations?
You got into a few fights.
I did in primary school.
Yeah.
And then I went to high school and everyone was so much bigger than me.
And
I went, yeah, this isn't going to work. Yeah. And it was actually in high school where I learnt, hey, you can't fight these guys with your hands. You have to fight with your words. So that was where I sharpened my ability to deflect, my ability to make a joke. And the defense was make a joke first to take away their attack. So I would make a Tourette's joke. I would make a hyperactivity joke. I would make jokes like that about my personality. So they had no ammo. I took away their ammo by being the first one. And in doing that, it kind of, I was able to regain control of the social situations.
Yes, it makes sense. Absolutely.
It takes a lot of self-confidence to be able to do that, though. Seamus, where did that self-confidence come from?
I think there's two sides to that comment of self-confidence. Number one, I feel as though confidence only comes from doing it and being forced to do it. So I didn't have another choice. I couldn't fight physically. So I was forced into using that because that was what my strength was, which then came with confidence.
Yeah.
So it's a double-edged sword of what came first, chicken or the egg. And I feel as though action sparks action. And then going back, I do think my parents did a really good job of nurturing my personality, nurturing my aspirations, nurturing my humor. I wasn't an academic at all. I did not succeed in school in the slightest. And that didn't bother them. They just kind of was like, it's okay. And they just loved me. And I think in that grounding environment, I was able, I don't know. I think the short answer is love and fear because I felt loved at home, but I was scared in a social setting where I just had to, that was my only option, which gave me the confidence to do it later because I was met with so many opportunities to flaunt my quick-witted behavior.
I love that. Flaunt it. I love that.
When did you first realize you had Tourette's?
Oh, it goes back. My parents noticed it when I was a baby. I would wriggle my nose and sniff and wriggle like a pattern of behavior when I was a baby. And then I wasn't actually conscious of it for a long time. my dad would ask me, why do you keep doing that? I'm like, I don't know. I didn't even realize I did it.
Yeah.
I had this one tick where I would bang my knees together really hard. And I remember him saying, like, why can't you stop that? I'm like, oh, I just need to do it. I didn't realize it was a different thing. I didn't realize other people didn't do it. It was just something my body would do naturally. When collectively we worked out this is a behavior that isn't really consistent with normal behaviors, was I had long hair-ish and I had a fringe and I would flick the fringe out of my face, and then we got a haircut and I kept flicking. And mum was like, wait a second. You don't have long hair. Why are you flicking invisible hair out of your face? And that's when we put two and two together. There's something here. Then a documentary was on 60 Minutes. And it was a very famous case, either in Australia or America, about really severe Tourette's with coprolalia, which is the swearing profanity tick, and the impulsions, which is punching, kicking, and all that, etc. And then they really explored it in depth, and they explained that it can be simple ticks like sniffing, nodding, and shrugging shoulders and flicking heads. And my nana heard it, and she watched it with an interview with Dr. Michael Beach, who's here in Australia. And she called my mum and said, you need to watch this. This is what Seamus had. And obviously in the 90s, we had no idea. We'd never heard of this before. And so we went to the doctors and said we'd heard this interview. And then we just, at 10 years of age, at 9, we started that journey. And over about 6 to 8 months, more interviews and doctor's appointments. And then we finally got a diagnosis.
And so how did the Tourette's affect you? Obviously the flicking, your knees. Was it more, I'm going to say serious? Tourette's is serious, so that's not fair. But was it a conscious? You didn't know you were doing it, did you?
I didn't know I was doing it. I think I can't speak for everybody who has Tourette's because everybody's experience is very different. But what I can say is when it comes to mine, it was more socially. It affected me socially more than anything. Actually, that's not really true. Thinking back, I would get really frustrated. Oh, I remember a specific story. When I was younger, I felt like I had been infected by something and I couldn't stop flicking my head and flicking my hands and grunting and blinking my eyes, and I couldn't stop it. And then I'd get up from my seat and run away because I was trying to run away from what was happening over my body. It was like I was infected by something and it was taking over. And as a result, I would run because it was like, you know, those videos when you see people connect a fake snake on someone's belt and they turn around and see it and they run and the snake follows. It was like that. I was trying to shake off these invisible things that was happening to my body, and it would cause me to have full-blown anger fits, and I would get so frustrated and punch walls, punch myself, throw myself against the floor. I couldn't stop crying because it was an overwhelming sense of I wasn't in control. It was like I was infected with something, and it was like a giant rash that you can't stop it spread. And that's how it felt when I remember when I was younger. It also affected me socially from having negative behaviors from other people. So they would notice it, they would make fun of it, they would call names, the standard sort of primary school bullying behavior of human beings. I'm sure everybody experiences it to a degree, but they had it towards me because of my tics.
Yeah. So if I look at you today and I talk to you today and we're talking normally, I don't see you as having Tourette's. Are you covering it, or have you managed it, or how does it affect you today?
There are a few angles to that answer. Number one, I have had Tourette's since I was a baby and I'm 34. So that's 3.5 decades of managing my tics, knowing when they're coming, feeling them, identifying them,
So you
understanding
can
them.
feel when they're coming.
Yes, very, very much so. So I have a lot of experience being able to redirect them, manage them, understand them, and navigate them. So that's one element of experience. Number two.
Can I just ask you, when you said redirect them, What do you mean by that?
So you can actively take a tic from one area to another. It's a very complex explanation scientifically and medically, but simply it's literally telling your brain, do this instead of doing that. That's the simplified version. But then you have to actually manage that behavior. Essentially, what happens is your brain is sending a message to your body, and it's just saying, like, wiggle your toes, click your fingers. It's the same sensation as when you have an itch. Your brain says, scratch it. So then there's the behavior. There's a signal, then the behavior. So my brain says, do that movement. Then I have to actively do it. Now, in that short difference of message to action, I have a very small window to take control and manipulate the action. And so over a long period of time, you can change those actions. For example, if there is a comet coming towards Earth and the comet, if it hits Earth, it blows us all up and we all die. NASA, their technique for stopping that comet and saving the world is to change its path by 1 degree by sending up a giant object next to it and using gravitational pull to just pull it off course. So if we use that same mentality and just say my tic is telling me to wiggle my pinky, well, maybe I can grab my pinky with my other hand and squeeze it really tight. Maybe I can move it from side to side. Maybe I can tense it down in a giant ball. I'm still satisfying that message. I'm just activating the action 3 different ways. Now, if I do that over a series of months and weeks and really focus on that individual message, you can actively change it from your pinky to your toe. It's gradual and it takes up a lot of mental energy, but I have done it countless times.
And that was going to be
so powerful, isn't it? It's so powerful listening to that.
That is exhausting.
Yeah.
Doing that. Like you are doing so much
more masking
than what every other normal person is doing. When their brain tells them to do something, you do it. You're doing double the amount of work.
Yeah. So a few comments there. One, I only pick 1 tic. So if I have 25 tics, I won't redirect 25 of them because that's too exhausting. Yeah. I will only do the ones that implicate me negatively. For example, if they hurt me or if they stop me from doing something that I need to do. Then there is another element of manipulating them, i.e. choosing when you want to do them. So for example, when I was boxing, I never wanted to tic while I was being punched in the face. So I would try and actively tell my brain, tick now, tick now, tick now, because for the next 2 minutes, you're not going to tick. So I would get them out of the way. And I would feel like I'd almost, met my KPIs, so to speak. The other element is masking and suppressing, except they're very 2 different things of redirecting and masking. Masking is stopping and not doing, which is the same as not blinking. And that anyone can do that, but it doesn't stop them. It just stops them for a period of time and makes them worse when you let them out. Redirecting is an active management of doing them, but differently, which is a tough thing to kind of navigate if you don't have Tourette's.
So my question is, when you were boxing, how could you be sure that you weren't going to tick?
I wasn't, I guess, because I will say though, when you concentrate, you don't tick. And this seems to be a very common trait in Tourette's. For example, juggling, fire poi, drawing, singing. There are some actions individuals with Tourette's, when they do not tick. So you would tick before and after. I've just started jiu-jitsu. And before we wrestle, I let all my tics out and then I don't do them when I wrestle. And that's not active. I'm not doing that on purpose. My brain is going, quickly get these out because I need to concentrate and not do them.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing, isn't it? Like, because I've never looked at it like that. Like, it's phenomenal how the brain works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you done a lot of have you done a lot of research into the Tourette's and tics and?
Yeah. When I started this keynote journey and being an ambassador for Tourette syndrome, Association Australia and speaking in schools and conferences about my experience, I really wanted to make sure I was saying the right things. So I didn't want to say anything that was wrong. So I really in-depth researched Tourette's and ADHD and neurodiversity to the best I could. And I realized the more knowledge I acquired, the more I realized I don't know.
That is so true.
And it's so complex and there's so many variables and it's really dependent on an individual. It's such a complex thing. And I dare say no one fully understands our brains and neurodiversity to the full extent.
100% agree. You said before that if you've met one person with Tourette's, you've met one person. We say the same with ASD. I was diagnosed at 50 last year after having 2 children with ASD. And it's been a journey. And no one else can understand what my last 50 years have been like in my life. It's really different. Tell me about how ADHD has affected your life.
I really like this question because I don't have an answer. And I get asked it a lot. And the reason is I don't know any different.
Yeah.
I feel like it's just who I am. And I when I experimented with medication and I experimented with the Ritalin and Vivance, and I think there are a few others that I tested, I did, I guess, see the world through a neurotypical lens because my brain was constantly on, because the drugs do work. There's no doubt in my mind. They are very, very well put together and they definitely work. I will say my ADHD supposedly lends to my work because it takes me into a place I call fairyland. So fairyland for me is that place I go to when I'm distracted, when I can't focus, and it's not a choice. It just naturally goes there because I get distracted. I can't concentrate. In school, the teacher would be talking and I would disappear into somewhere else. Now, fairyland is a magical land where so many incredible ideas have been born. As someone in a creative field, in a presenting field, in a having a creative agency myself, in podcasting and you name it, in television and radio, you need good ideas. That's where good ideas live. And for me to just have an open door policy to fairyland, it has lent itself to its advantage in my career. The other element is the dopamine seeking behaviors obviously can be extremely catastrophic when you're a teenager and you're making trouble in the street and you're misbehaving. In terms of the law, it can be extremely catastrophic. In terms of business, it can be very, very beneficial. In terms of your career goals, if you are taking those calculated risks that you get dopamine from and you keep doing it, you will get very, very far. So I feel as though when you have ADHD, it's a very powerful thing that can really benefit you and really destroy your life. I think it's important that we fully understand what the behaviors are and how you can use them to your advantage and how you can avoid the destructive stuff.
I love that. You call it fairyland. I call it fantasy world.
Yeah.
Go into this world where there's no society's, you have to act perceptions. You have to act like this. You have to do this. All my great ideas come from my ADHD brain. I can't, and Jen and I talk about this quite often. Jen's always in the office. She's my stable, someone I can always depend on, always be there. Me, I'm probably lucky if I spend half a day in the office because I've got to be out doing things and seeing things and generating things.
Kate can't sit still. Kate can't, even at the desk, you'll go, is your knee going? Because the knee's going. It's shaking everything. But that's Kate, and that's why we love her. Like, we wouldn't have her any other way. But, it's a really good dynamic because she's off. She's
What's she going to come up with next time? You can see it now. Yeah. The girls all go when Kate comes back because it's like, what's she going to have come up with this time? It's so true. And I've thought about medication, but I'm so scared of losing that side of myself.
Yeah.
I did experience that. And I feel like everything costs something. So
Yeah.
I will say when I was on meds, geez, I could get my tax done very, very well. My accounting was done incredibly.
But that's not fun, is it? What's the fun in that, really?
Yeah, you're right. I will say the fun element was actually being able to use the brain and not in a way that I've never used it before and going, wow, this is amazing. It's like waking up to really strong legs and going for a run, going, geez, I've never used these before. So that element was exciting, but I couldn't speak. It stopped me from talking. I had to get off the phone. And
Did you feel that you lost yourself, Seamus?
10%.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Enough for me to notice. Not much for other people to notice, but enough for me. And the fact that I am a professional speaker and, you know, I have to speak a lot of meetings on the phone and this is how I communicate, then it took that away, but I could do my accounting. So it was a cost.
Yeah.
That's all.
And you look at, you know, what do you want to do? Do you want to do your books? Or do you want to be out there talking to people?
Yeah, I really feel like this is where a very important question falls with young people with ADHD, and they feel they might need medication, which I think everybody should explore their own journey. But you need to be able to explore your strengths, and you're right, what it is that you want to do. And if there's things you can't do, you shouldn't beat yourself up that you can't do them. You just slowly try and improve in them.
Yeah.
Or you get an
accountant.
Specialist. You get an accountant. And I'm all for that. Like, I am no good with social media and I'm not interested in it. I don't have that type of creative brain. So I will go and pay someone to do it because I'm not interested. I don't want to do it. It's a waste of my time.
Seamus, have you ever, because you're such an extrovert and you talk so well and handle yourself so well, have you ever had moments of self-doubt?
Oh yeah, this is
navigating life. Yeah.
So I think self-doubt is in everybody's life. It doesn't matter who you are or what you've achieved. I think everyone has it. This is a normal thing. I think self-doubt is on purpose. You're meant to have it to question your next move. You know, if you're about to jump off a cliff, hey, well, hang on. You know, can you do it?
And I survive that.
Oh, yeah. It is just a full natural part of being a human being. And there's no getting rid of it. It's being able to navigate through it and having a more of a calculated thought process of, hey, I hear that and I understand why you would do that. But you know what? Here are the reasons why we're going to do it, which is, I think, an ability to train your brain how to think. I do have a lot of, I actually don't think I am an extrovert. I think I am an extroverted introvert by the definition of getting energized from being around people.
Yep.
I think I've developed, going back to when I was a child, being the tension breaker. I had to do it to save the family dynamics and protect my environment. But it's tiring and I need alone time to recharge and I need to stop. I need to disappear and be on my own and not talk, which I believe that's how I get energy, which I believe is an introvert. However, I have trained my ability, I guess, to captivate and be engaging from a young age.
Yeah. But I do say that about myself. I'm an introverted extrovert. Because I do like my own space and you do tire, like when or I'm social. What did I say to you the other day, Kay? I'm socially unsociable. Just because, you just do need that alone time just to reflect and regroup, I guess. Yeah.
I find socializing exhausting. I love it. And I get to about the 2-hour mark and then I'm like, I'm out. I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
What do you hope for in the future with society, and whether it's disabilities or whether it's labels, diagnoses? What do you hope that we can change in society?
I hope, not for the collective society, but for the individuals who receive a diagnosis, to understand that is not who you are, and it shouldn't rule your life. It shouldn't determine your future or who you are or what you do. It shouldn't be an excuse or a reason for anything else other than just give a name to how you were born or what you have. It really kind of affects me and hurts me and breaks my heart when I hear stories of young people feeling like they can't do something or achieve something or try and reach for their goals because of a diagnosis.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's just the little Seamus speaking of, being 10 years old, getting a diagnosis and feeling like, oh, well, I can't do this because I have that. And having had a career on television, having had a career in radio and failing school, these things shouldn't have happened given the way society tells us how our lives should go. And so it's such a natural thing to think, I can't do that because I'm autistic. I can't do that because I have ADHD. I can't do that because I have tics. I can't do that because I'm missing a leg. Whatever it is.
Yeah.
I just hate putting a weight or an anchor, an invisible anchor on ourselves. Now, I don't believe society will ever change. Stigma, I don't think will come from the outside. It'll come from the inside out, and your ability to grow in confidence with your own diagnosis to change the stigma. It won't come from pointing the finger outside. Unfortunately, I feel as though it comes from inside. So I have a favorite saying, you can't change the world, but you can change your world.
Yeah.
And I feel as if we all change our own worlds, the world will change.
Yeah.
I think people have a very limited view on what people with disability can do, or with a label, or with a diagnosis. And it really breaks my heart when I see parents of autistic kids, I'm not going to say limit them, and it's hard to say accept them for who they are, because I absolutely accept my children for who they are. But I know that if I didn't push them and I didn't be the driving force behind them, they wouldn't be the people that they are today. But there are some people that just look at their children and go, believe their doctors and say, well, they're never going to amount to anything. They're never going to live out of home. They're never going to do this. They're never going to do that. When I look at every single person that we've interviewed with a spinal cord injury, with autism, whatever, their whole goal is to keep getting better and breaking barriers and to achieve what they've been told that they can't achieve. And you know what? The majority of them do.
Yeah, I think one of the secrets to life that you kind of only ever really learn until you get older. And I say that because I remember when I was a child, I didn't know this. But it's something that adults used to say to us as kids. Well, when you put your mind to something, you can achieve it.
Achieve
But
it.
but it really does kind of, when you tunnel vision into a goal and you go, that's what I want to do, and all of your being and energy and daily tasks head towards that. It might not be the stereotypical traditional path. It might be a different way, but you can still achieve much more than you realize you can.
Yeah.
And I feel as though ourselves and our minds and our self-doubt, and that's what stops us. It's not society. It's actually us that limits our own potential from what we believe society is saying about us.
Yeah.
Which to me then comes down to mindset. Have you ever felt like giving up?
All the time. Yeah. I mean,
why don't you?
Because it's not in my, I have given up on things and I know that that's not for me.
But that's a conscious decision.
That is a conscious decision. I don't have it in me to give up. I have it in me to get to a certain point and not get past, because my own self-limitations and thoughts will stop me at that level that I'm now learning to unlock. But if I like something and I really want it, I can't help myself. I don't give up.
So do you think that's your mindset, or do you think that's your ADHD? Both.
I think that is my Tourette's.
Okay.
And the reason being, it's not the individual tics, but having tics have put me in embarrassing social situations where I have felt really low because of how people have treated me and feeling rejected. So because of my Tourette's providing me with those horrible experiences, I'm not scared of rejection. I'm not scared of being alone. I'm not scared of failing, which means in order to achieve, you have to fail.
Yeah.
And people won't take that first step because they're scared of failing. But I've been failing my whole life. So I'm not scared of it, which means I constantly live in failure.
But have you been failing your entire life, or have you been learning?
Well, that's the interesting thing about failure is it's situational. I might fail that situation, but then you learn and then you keep going.
Yeah.
And I honestly feel as though it is because of my Tourette's and the social backlash I've received. I don't care about rejection from a professional sense then.
Yeah. It builds a lot of resilience within yourself.
It also causes you to take steps and risks that other people wouldn't because you're not scared. So if you're not scared of being told no in a business sense, well, you'll ask a billionaire for $100 million.
Because they can only say no, right?
Yeah.
I say that to my kids all the time. If you don't ask, the answer's no.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's really simple.
Yes.
And I say to my kids as well, there's never a mistake. It's always a lesson. Because it's a mistake if you continually do it. But
that's just stupidity.
Life is just full of lessons and we've got to grab them as much as we can because life's so short and it's so fleeting that we've just got to get out there and do what we do.
Yeah.
Who's been your biggest supporter?
My mum's pretty great. Both my parents are really great. My family, I have a really great family life. Obviously, like I said, no family's ever perfect. We've all got our cracks, but I grew up in a pretty loving household.
Can I just say the youngest always gets away with everything?
Yes.
Oh, come on now. I'm the youngest. Don't be like that.
See? Yeah, we definitely do. But I would say my mother, the first one would be mum. She was really fantastic in the regard of she didn't let me get away with anything because of and use Tourette's because of an excuse.
Mm-hmm.
She basically blatantly said, I don't care. You are still fully in control of your choices.
Yeah.
So you can't do that and blame, like if you did it, you did it. And just the same as I would have to take responsibility for my Tourette. So spilling milk on carpet, well, I had to clean it, even if it was my Tourette's that dropped it. That's fine. I got to clean it. And it's just giving me that ownership and that responsibility, which has kind of paved me for a life of not expecting people to. The world's harsh. There's no two ways about it.
Yeah.
People will treat you like crap, and it kind of made me realize that this is my responsibility.
Yeah.
And I say that about my boys. Yeah. Autism is a reason. It's not an excuse.
Yep.
And you need to work it out. So very true. What are your hopes for the future?
Me personally?
Yeah.
I have a lovely daughter and a 13-month-old daughter, and I hope to have 4 or 5 more. That won't happen.
Because have you actually spoken to your partner about this?
Oh yeah, she said no, we're not having that many. I'm really looking forward to the next chapters and phases of my life. I've just started a creative agency where I make television commercials for businesses and help business owners navigate their way through social media and podcasting or whatever it might be, personal branding, coming up with really great ideas for businesses. And that's really exciting. I like doing that. I like where that's taking me. I also this is a very strange answer, but I landed a national television job at 18 and I had a television career on national television. Then I had a breakfast radio career. I've had some really, and then I have been speaking around Australia for the past 4 years. I've had really incredible careers and goals, career goals that I achieved very early. So I feel like I'm in a different position to a lot of people where they set out for a large career goal and they hit it when they're 50 or 40 or 60 or whatever. I've hit 3 of them and I'm 35. And I'm like, ooh,
What's next?
what next? And I used to put so much pressure on myself to being quite very successful. And then I've had to unpack what success looks like. And it's very much a comparison game. And if you compare yourself, it's always a losing game. So I've had a few philosophical doors open where I've explored life a little bit more. And yeah, I'm excited for whatever chapter comes at me.
And look, your main role is being daddy now. A little girl wrapped round, it's got daddy wrapped round her little finger, I am sure.
She does. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Enjoy that journey. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Thanks.
It's been amazing to talk to you. Thank you so much for giving us your views, and it certainly is a different view to one that we've experienced before, but that's what this is all about, and that's what I love to hear. We'll put all your details on so people can reach out if they want to, but thank you so much for being a part of Navigating Disability.
Thank you so much for having me. I really, really appreciate it.
It's been an absolute pleasure, Seamus.